and was the national championship. Like, no one wins here.
It could be like 80. Was it 86 with the Earthquake World Series?
Yeah. Giants and A's.
Giants and A's. I was playing, so I was like, yeah, you never know. It's made in L.A., so yeah.
Little fault line down California and floats off into the ocean.
All righty then. You got time for one more? Make our picks?
Go.
Come on, man. It's going to be a 12-minute segment.
I don't know what's worse than, like, the picture in my head of Dave Roberts picking up the World Series or Aaron Boone. Like, two total duds.
I'd rather see Aaron Boone get it done.
I guess, yeah. Dave Roberts.
Well, because I think that Aaron Boone might be a little bit better of a manager than what people give him credit for. Not taking anything away from Dave Roberts.
I don't know.
I'm just saying that I think that he takes a lot of hatred. That's a tough place to manage. Yes, you have a great roster, but when things start going wrong and then all of a sudden it's like you're absolute garbage, and I don't know. They've been doing all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it's warranted when you have this highest or second highest payroll in the league. I think, something's got to turn. I mean, if I had Juan Soto and Aaron Judge hitting back-to-back in the lineup.
And then you get the route that you got to the World Series between two
so you get to play the
American
AL
leagues.
Central.
Boone does get thrown out a bunch. Maybe he'll get thrown out in this World Series.
True. That'd be
When's the last time we've seen a manager?
That'd be a good hard rack bet right there.
When was the last time we saw a manager get thrown out in a World Series?
I don't know
if I've ever seen that. So we'll look it up. But Tim Adams says, I promise y'all, for every dumb decision Norvell's made, Billy Napier's made at least 5. We're going to end off with that. We'll come back talking some more. Actually, we're going to have Tyler make his picks here when we get back, and I'll read off Max's as well. This is the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. Keep it locked in. We going to be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Now, the individuals is James Brown, Elvis, and I got to give credit, Michael Jackson.
Johnny Cash.
I love
Boys to Men, one of my favorites. I'm serious.
I was not jogging. I have never been caught jogging in my life.
Weekday morning 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, sunny and a temperature of 81 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the northeast. Clear skies tonight, a light breeze and cool near 65. Sunny and 83 tomorrow. 82 and sunshine with a light breeze Thursday. Friday, mostly sunshine and a temperature about the same at 84. Sunny Saturday with a high around 83. This is your Tuesday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Are you hungry for authentic Mexican cuisine? Then come to El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, where we serve up the freshest, most flavorful dishes on the beach. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, a great location, comfortable atmosphere, and happy hour from 3 to 7. Buy one, get one free, regular margaritas and 12-ounce house drafts. And you're going to love their lunch specials, Monday through Friday from 11 to 3. Plus, live music Wednesdays and Saturdays starting at 5:30. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, Thomas Drive across from the Navy base.
Attention homeowners, are you dreaming of a backyard oasis? Look no further than S&R Fencing, your go-to destination for quality outdoor transformations. At S&R, they specialize in crafting custom fences, decks, retainer walls, and all exterior construction that not only enhances the beauty of your home, but also stands the test of time. Their experienced team takes pride in delivering top-notch craftsmanship with a personal touch. S&R Fencing, locally owned, licensed, and insured, and a member of the BBB.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man.
It's the Afternoon Underdogs on the Sports Talk Monster.
You're gonna be mine. Woo!
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back, and this is the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. David Hayes with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. The 3rd annual Pops Pig Pick and Barbecue is going to be Saturday, November 2nd, 12 to 6 p.m. at the Break Room, which is located 2727 Joan Avenue. Thank you to the Break Room, Pineapple Willie's, ESPN Northwest Florida, of course, Re-Rack Sports Bar, and Team MVP with the coach's daughter, Leanne Swartzentruber. Make sure to give her a call for all of your real estate needs. And in fact, if you want to buy or sell any real estate, hit her up, 850-774-3186. That's Team MVP, your MVP of real estate. Dinner tickets are $20. Chef Ross is going to be whipping up the food. I'm sure he's going to have ribs. I think he's going to have brisket, and he'll have some great sides to go along. If you've never experienced Chef Ross's barbecuing, you need to. And then they'll also have a pool tournament at 1 p.m., and that costs $15. All proceeds will be donated to Beach Care Services, and this is all in honor of his dad, Ron Pops Robinson. He was an absolutely great man. And I'll be there. So I don't know how long I'll be there, but I will be there. So if you'd like to come meet me and you never have, then that would be awesome as well. All right. We could talk a little World Series here with Caveman Rick, but Tyler's back at the building, so let's go over some of these picks. Let's see how many we can knock out. We don't got to be swift or anything, because we can go into hour number 2 talking about this, and then we'll recap your thoughts on Georgia and Texas. But first, though, we did leave off with that text from Tim Adams, right? I promise y'all, for every dumb decision Norvell's made, Billy Napier's made at least 5. You had a fun response to that in the break.
I mean, if just being better than Billy Napier is your goal, then be my guest. But I mean, I would hope that your $10 million coach is shooting for a little bit higher than that. That's just me personally. Like, especially like Billy Napier's been considered a dead man walking for 12 games now.
Is it changed?
I've said all year, if they make a bowl, he's safe. But the problem is,
Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, FSU.
But they get 2 of those at the house.
Yeah.
Florida State on the road doesn't look as daunting as it did preseason. So, let's say they beat Florida State. Which one do you think is I think you picked them to beat LSU preseason.
I think I did preseason, yeah. Because I had them at the house.
Honestly, neither LSU nor Ole Miss look quite as, daunting as we may have expected.
Back-to-back home games right there. So maybe you drop one and pick up the other, or vice versa there. I would love to see Texas's season just unravel from this point. You see that Georgia is kind of the new Bama, right? I don't think that they're as when Bama was on top, it was like them and everyone else would try to climb up for a season or two. But I feel like where we're at right now, and it's not Georgia's fault, it's the fault of the landscape. It's the landscape of college football that we're in, where it's like Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia. There's so many teams kind of vying for that number 1 spot. But back in the day when Bama would beat teams, it would be like their season would just kind of go by the wayside. I'm hoping that happens with Texas. I'm hoping it starts this week with number 25 Vanderbilt host them Longhorns.
You don't just walk into Nash Vegas and walk out with a W?
No.
That would be the fun. I mean, could you imagine, if Vandy beats him after, the same thing happening a couple weeks ago with, the Georgia turnaround between Bama, Bama playing Georgia, then Vandy, and then Texas doing the same thing. It'd be just the funniest.
I heard that if Vanderbilt were to do that, they would have yanked the goalposts out the ground. They'd throw, the stadium in the river or whatever, dude.
Chef Chris said that yesterday on the Inside Drive. Actually, it might have been the Afternoon Underdog. I don't know, because I was on the board for both of them. So it's
has a team ever torn down the goalpost twice in one season?
I don't know about twice in one season, but I do know, Tennessee tried to make it happen again. Was that not?
Have a little bit of respect for yourself at this point. I get it 2 years ago. First time you beat Bama in 20 years.
Act like you've been there before.
But,
you've been there before, though.
That's what I'm saying. Act like you've been
there 2 years. Last time you were at home. Bama just probably hates playing, crossing that state line anymore.
Fans just look for any kind of excuse so they can post, look what we did. Here's me with the goalpost.
Yeah, but you hurt your university in the long run because, I don't know, if 250,000, 500,000, that's a drop in the bucket to them. What they should do is make the fans collectively pay.
No, or they should maybe next game or whatever, no fans, or no, you know what I'm saying? Really
they would do that in
the hell out of people. And
they make more than that fine cost with the first 30 people coming into the stadium.
It's just kind of, I'm not going to say embarrassing, but it's come on, man, what are we doing here? And it's not even a knock against Bama. It's just y'all beat them last time y'all were here.
Yeah, and we lost to Vanderbilt this year. What?
It was a 3-point game. It's not like it was a 20-point spread or whatever.
Right.
But,
oh, man. All right, we're not going to get many done here, but we will start and see how many we can get done. Boise State looking to be the prime school of the G5, the group of 5 schools. They are number 17. They've got a Heisman hopeful in Ashton Genty, and they travel to UNLV, who is also having a really good season this year. UNLV, a 2.5-point dog. We're picking this one straight up. Who do you got? Max has got the Broncos of Boise State.
How can you bet against Ashton Genty right now?
Right.
Honestly, the guy's number, his projections before the game are like 200 yards and 2.5 touchdowns. Like those are like the under over for him.
Yeah.
And so until somebody actually slows him down, because even Oregon really couldn't. So until somebody legitimately does, give me the Broncos in that running game.
All right, there you go. Number 12, Notre Dame is traveling to Navy. Navy undefeated on the year. Navy getting 11.5 points. Notre Dame did take care of business against Georgia Tech last week, covering that spread. However, Navy also looked pretty good. If I'm not mistaken, it was against Charlotte.
Yeah, against Charlotte.
11.5 points is what the midshipmen are getting. Who do you have here? Max has got Navy.
I want Navy. I want it bad.
Do you want them to win straight
yes,
up? Do you think they will?
No.
No.
I think at a certain point, like, you go from being the underdog to, like, now you kind of got to, like, carry that burden of being ranked.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's not like, oh, poor little Navy. It is like, okay, we expect something out of you, and sometimes teams don't handle that very well.
Right.
This is I don't know if his rivalry is the right word, but it's a game that is played a lot.
Yeah.
So these teams are very familiar with each other. I'm taking Notre Dame.
All right.
Or with the points, or against the points. Or
to cover the spread.
Yeah.
Washington travels to number 13, Indiana. First time in school history, not only are they 7-0, but they are hosting college game day, so it should be a wild scene in Bloomington, Indiana. No spread used here, but Indiana is a 6.5 point favorite, total sitting at 52.5. Who do you like here?
I almost went Washington with Rourke being out, but I think Cignetti's just got something special going on right there, and I think he's the better coach in this matchup, and give me them at home.
All right.
Who's Max got for both of those games?
He's got Navy in the first one. He's got Washington in the second one. I'm just kidding. He's got Indiana. Number 20.
Call real quick.
Yeah. Number 20, Illinois, the Fighting Illini, travel to Autzen, Oregon, number 1 in the land right now, and they got to cover 24.5. Illinois just had a big win against Michigan, and now Oregon.
Nice uniforms, nice helmets.
Yeah.
Illinois, those were sick. Yeah, those were sick.
So who do you got? You got Oregon covering 24.5 or Illinois sticking within 24.5?
I think Illinois is going to play a boring enough game to keep this within 24.5, but I think it's one of those if Oregon can make one or two big like turnovers and get Illinois way behind the ball, then Illinois may be kind of forced to go out of their comfort zone and start throwing a little bit more. So I'm going to take Oregon. Austin's a tough place to play. You're traveling 2 or 3 time zones. Give me the Ducks.
All right. We're going to take a quick break here and get back into hour number 2. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. The NFL plays here.
ESPN Northwest Florida is your touchdown headquarters for the Mosley Dolphins and the Auburn Tigers. Plus, premier college and NFL games. Touchdown! Incredible! Your source for the most live football on the Gulf Coast in a rich audio experience.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, sunny and a temperature of 81 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the northeast. Clear skies tonight, a light breeze and cool near 65. Sunny and 83 tomorrow. 82 and sunshine with a light breeze Thursday. Friday, mostly sunshine and a temperature about the same at 84. Sunny Saturday with a high around 83. This is your Tuesday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
At Brock Lawn and Pest Control, we're proud to be awarded the distinction of being Quality Pro certified.
Our technicians have passed rigorous training in eco-friendly application and prevention of pest treatments.
Part of the program is the practice of integrated pest management.
IPM's goal is to prevent pests from ever entering your home. It includes inspection, prevention, education, and, when necessary, application.
We're proud to be Quality Pro certified.
Brock Lawn and Pest Control, the standard and level of trust.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota. ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're back. This is hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. And we've got some great college football for you this Saturday. And we're going to get it started at 10:30 in the morning between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Rebels of Ole Miss. Coverage starts at 10:30 for an 11 a.m. kick. And then later on, we are the home for the Auburn Tigers. So who do the Auburn Tigers host? The Wildcats of Kentucky. So a battle of cats, just like it was last week. Last week it was 2 Tigers. This time a Wildcat versus a Tiger, and Auburn looking to right the ship. I mean, it has been troublesome. What did you see from that game against Missouri this last weekend?
Man, I was disappointed. Like, I mean, this was a game that, and I picked Auburn straight up to win last. They were like, what, a 4-point dog or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just thought, like, if I had any faith in Hugh Freeze being the coach that Auburn was hoping it was going to be, like, people kind of gave him that aura for, like, because of his Ole Miss days, that you can't come out and not beat a middling Missouri team at this point. And, I mean, they were up 14 or 17-3, blew a 14-point lead in the second half. Like, I think that's the fourth quarter lead of 11 points or more Auburn has blown this year.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing? And I know part of it is Peyton Thorne, but I mean, like, at a certain point, like, that's the guy you chose to ride with. Like,
right. You could have rode with Hank Brown. I mean,
it's nobody's fault but your own. And I think Auburn fans just got to be shaking their head like, what do we do now?
Well, if you're Auburn, if you're Hugh Freeze, all right, you still want to win games, but don't you want to look towards the future a little bit and say, all right, look, Hank Brown may not be the guy, but we know for 100% certainty that Peyton Thorne not only is not the guy, but he won't be here next year.
Yeah.
So at this point, don't you go with Hank Brown or go with someone else and see, all right, this obviously quarterback is a huge position of need, but let's go in this direction because if we're going to lose games anyways, we might as well have an excuse on why we lost, right?
Yeah, and it's bad for Auburn because you're looking at they're probably not going to make a bowl game. They've got to beat Texas A&M and or they've got to, like, they can afford to lose to Texas A&M and no, they can't afford to lose to both. They got to beat one of Texas A&M or Alabama.
So they got ULM, so they'll get the third win there, right?
Yeah.
And then Kentucky, Vandy, Texas A&M, and Alabama. Kentucky's winnable.
Kentucky's definitely winnable. Like I would say they should win that game. If I don't know what the line is, I would say they're probably at least a 4-point favorite against Kentucky. But
Vanderbilt.
Vandy. What do we know?
Is it not wild that we just keep on talking about Vanderbilt in such a positive spotlight?
One of these teams is ranked and one of them isn't. I mean, Louisiana Monroe, they should win, but, like, do you really feel comfortable about them beating Texas A&M or Alabama? I don't.
No, but it's not that I'm not confident in Alabama, but after the loss to Vanderbilt, you lose. You lose a ton of confidence. Then it's like, all right, we got to bounce back and whoop South Carolina, which South Carolina did us a favor by whooping up on Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Right. So did Bama a favor by whooping up on South Carolina. Then you've got. Then the loss to Tennessee, which Tennessee is not a bad. They're good.
Yeah,
it's just not. It's not what we've seen. The hype is not the same as what we've seen the last 2 years out of Heupel, and the offense being incredibly just
explosive
and opportunistic. Whereas this year, all right, the offense isn't as good. They got a great. The passing game isn't as good, but they've got a great run game, and they've got a really good defense. And I think that bodes well, especially when you're playing SEC football. So. We do hope that the Auburn Tigers can get it on track, but it does look like a bowl game could be tough to reach. And then if you do this, if you lose to Kentucky at the house after Florida just got done dismantling Kentucky, which again, any given Saturday, who knows what's going to happen here, but it is one of those where going into the season, did we think that Auburn was going to be worse than Florida?
No, I mean, I was relatively to very high on Auburn. I think I had them on like 9-3.
Yeah.
I really kind of believed in that second year bump from Freeze. I was like, they brought in some great talent at the wide receiver positions. I thought we were going to see some better play overall. And I mean, like, losing to Arkansas, in the way they lost some of those games, especially early on in the season. And, like, obviously the game against Georgia was never really competitive. So, like, but I mean, nobody's going to fire Hugh Freeze for losing to Georgia. That's just whatever. But the way they lost to some teams like Cal, Oklahoma, like Arkansas, even Missouri, like, What is we doing, man?
What is we doing? I'll tell you what we're doing Saturday, November 2nd. We're going to the 3rd annual Pops Pig Pick and Barbecue. All proceeds for this event will be donated to Beach Care Services. Dinner tickets cost $20. Pool tournament starts at 1 p.m. and that will be a $15 entry. This is all in honor of Ron Pops Robinson. Saturday, November 2nd, 12 to 6 p.m. at the Break Room. Thank you to our sponsors, the Break Room, Re-Rack Sports Bar, Pineapple Willie's, and Team MVP, your MVP of real estate. Give Leanne a call at 850-774-3186 and tell them that David sent you. David Hayes sent you, because I like to help out my second mama. All right, back to the pick'em. Missouri, Alabama. All of that talk about Alabama. All that talk about Missouri. Who do we like in this game? Bama's got to cover 13.5 points, and I ain't too excited about it.
I mean, from what we've seen the last 14 football quarters, kind of what we talked about earlier in the show, like I don't feel super great about Bama covering 14 points against a SEC team in general. But I think that line seems to be set by Vegas like they want people to take Missouri. Like, you know, that 13.5, like, oh yeah, Missouri can keep within 2 touchdowns. Like, that's kind of that hook they get you with. So I'm going to assume Vegas feels a little bit better about this game than I do and take Bama to cover.
All right. Max is also...
I don't love it, but...
I don't love it either. Max also has Alabama. In fact, I almost left this game off the list because we've gotten to this point now where if it's over 10-point spread, we're going to put it in yellow and we're going to utilize the spread for it. And so I almost was just going to sneakily leave this game off the list, but it didn't work out that way. Number 5. Texas. At number 25, the Commodores of Vanderbilt. Anchor down, baby. They're getting 18.5 points in this game, hosting the Longhorns, and Vanderbilt is an 18.5 point dog here, which means they get 18.5.
Man, I love Vandy being in the top 25. But if Texas is the team that people thought they were going into the Georgia game, this is the type of game they need to come out and play like they are pissed off. And so I'm going to take Texas to cover. I don't love it. Again, I don't love it, but it's one of those, like, if Texas doesn't come out and destroy Vanderbilt, or not destroy, but play very well against Vanderbilt, you got to start kind of feeling a little iffy about Texas season going forward.
So it's the same exact thing that we said when Bama was playing South Carolina.
100%.
It's the same exact thing.
It's the exact same thing. Obviously, it didn't work out super well then, but, you know, it's kind of the same. I got to be consistent with my logic.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, who would have thought Bama and Texas's schedule would, like, when we're looking at it, preseason, it's like, okay, well, Texas and Alabama both play Georgia, and then they play Vanderbilt. You know, like, who would have thought that we'd be talking about it from this perspective, though, hilarious. With Vanderbilt being number 25 in the land and 2 really good wins on the season. And they even struggled. Who'd they have this last weekend? I forget.
Ball State.
Ball State, yeah. And weren't they struggling for a little bit there?
Yeah.
And then still made their way into the top 25. It's like Vanderbilt is the epitome of play to their competition
just
this year.
Win, baby.
Just win. I love it, man. I think it's a great story for college football. Number 3, Penn State traveling to Wisconsin. Wisconsin just had a big win this last weekend as well, and I think that also is something that bodes well for, if you're an Alabama fan, it's got to bode well, right? The fact that you beat them pretty convincingly and now they're winning big. Number 3, Penn State at Wisconsin. What do you like from this game, Tyler? Max also had Vanderbilt with the points in that last game.
I'm taking Penn State. I don't love a lot of these games as I'm going through the list, but James Franklin seems to be able to beat the teams that he's supposed to beat. He's supposed to beat Wisconsin. And, I mean, we're not using points, so a 1-point win counts, so give me Penn State.
All right. Max has Penn State and the Nittany Lions as well. This is a big game right here. I mean, both of these teams right in the same area of pecking order, if you ask my opinion. Number 8, LSU at number 14, Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 2.5-point favorite at the house here, and Max has got LSU. What do you like from this game?
This is 2 teams really, like, for being 2 one-loss SEC teams, like, nobody's talking about them. Like, that talks about Texas, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Bama, like, Tennessee, but, like, both these teams are undefeated in the SEC, one-loss teams, and, like, quietly both teams are playing some pretty good ball as a whole. Being Texas A&M at College Station, I think Elko's gonna come out with some really good stuff on that defense. I'm gonna take Texas A&M to win it.
Does Texas A&M only have 1 loss on the year?
Notre Dame.
just Notre Dame, and they're sitting at number 14. That's not a bad loss to have either because they're number 12 in the land.
No, I mean, and both these teams control their own destiny to make the SEC championship.
There's so much destiny to be
wild
controlled in the SEC.
Yeah, for sure. I think if both of them were to win out, like obviously one of them's going to win this game, I think if both teams were to win out, they would both play in the SEC championship again, as opposed to Georgia, Texas, or anybody else making it. So it's some wild stuff going on.
Wow, man, there's so many avenues. That's what's so hard to put your finger on what teams are going to be.
It's so weird too.
It is, but I think it's really hard to have divisions when you got 16 teams. I mean, I guess you can go 8-8, but number 22 SMU taking on Duke in Durham, North Carolina. Duke is an 11.5-point dog. We are going to be using the spread for this game, and Max, he had LSU in the previous game. He's got SMU in this game to cover 11.5 points.
Give me SMU. I watched a good bit of that Florida State Duke game, and Duke obviously made enough plays to win, but man, like there was plays to be made for Florida State. They just couldn't do it, and I think SMU is going to have an offense that can do it. And partially, maybe an emotional hangover. Duke had the first win against Florida State in program history. Can they play up to that level again?
Yeah. And SMU is a team that's still in the mix of things when it comes to how the ACC is going to go down. I think right now we're looking at a clash of Miami and Clemson, and I do have a question for you about that here in a little bit. But SMU is a fun team with a very explosive offense, so we'll have to watch out for them. Max, again, taking SMU there. And then finally, Cincinnati at Colorado. Colorado, 4.5-point favorite. We're not using the spread in this game. They are a team that has kind of flipped the switch since the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. They do have that loss to Kansas State, but Shedeur Sanders, just trying to keep on, I don't want to say padding the stats, but making himself look like the number one quarterback to be drafted next year. Who do you got in this one? Max has got the Buffaloes.
I'm taking Colorado as well. I think it's kind of interesting, like the less that Colorado's in the spotlight, they seem to be almost playing better. It's almost like they were getting maybe they were just getting too much hype for the quality.
It's like Baker Mayfield in commercials.
But, now that they've fallen out of the limelight a little bit because people are talking about real football. No, I'm just we're talking about other things going on. Like they just seem to be kind of quietly flying under the radar. And I mean, give me the Buffs.
We got a frozen frenzy going on over here on our TV. We've got the Washington Capitals and the Philadelphia Flyers. Rick, do you know if there's any reason why they're calling this a frozen frenzy?
Because today they have all 32 teams playing. There's 16 games today, so the whole entire league's playing today.
All right.
So a lot of games. If you want to bet, I've already made quite a few parlays and stuff, so throw it down.
Hey, there we go. Tampa Bay Lightning did take a spill last night. I believe they're on a 2-game losing streak after starting out the season 2 or 3-0. They've lost to Ottawa on Saturday, and then they lost to the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. But a lot of growing pains to go for the Tampa Bay Lightning this year. We'll get Andrew Weiss, as we normally do, as we work our way throughout this season. But, Steven Stamkos, the former captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning, is now a Nashville Predator. Let's go to the NFL. We've got 5 games to pick for the NFL. The Vikings at the Rams. This is going to be Thursday Night Football. It will not be on our air. Why? Because we are your home for the Mosley Dolphins, and the Dolphins are traveling to the other Dolphins of Gulf Breeze. It's going to be a battle of the Dolphins over there in Gulf Breeze, and coverage will start for us at 6:30. So how tomorrow is going to work out, or how Thursday is going to work out, Coach Brian Haddad is actually going to come up here and do the show with James Fife. I'm going to try to line up some more guests with him. They're going to have a wrestling segment. Then at 5:30, Banji Bomadella is going to join him, and he's the Panama City News Herald local sports writer for us. He's going to join Coach Brian Haddad from 5:30 to 6:30. They're going to talk about all the games, and then at 6:30, they'll kick it over to us at Gulf Breeze, and me, Robert Fleming, and Kyle Wright will do a little pregame show, and then at 7 o'clock, we will dive into the kickoff for the Gulf Breeze Dolphins and the Mosley Dolphins. To the NFL, though, Vikings and the Rams. Max has got the Minnesota Vikings.
So the Rams are actually in some very interesting trade rumors going on between Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford, both potentially being shopped, which makes me kind of wonder the commitment by the Rams to the season going forward.
Right, but what about the commitment to the I don't know. If I'm the Vikings, I like what Sam Darnold has done for us this year.
I mean, I don't disagree.
Do you want to change things up?
I would say, like, the one, not the one, but, like, I mean, Stafford's experience in Sean McVay, which is where Kevin O'Connell came from. He already, I believe he coached with Stafford for a year or two in that system. So, like, they wouldn't be making this move if they didn't feel like it was a drastic increase in production or ability. But like I said, right now I'm questioning the Rams the rest of the season, so give me the Vikings.
All right. Let's go to the Eagles and the Bengals. Max, again, had the Vikings in that last game. This could be a fun game, and I put it on the slate. Not only is it a close game, but AG, Caveman Rick, and we're not going to have the opportunity to have you guys talk about it in the studio because AG is actually either on his way to Louisville right now or will be on his way shortly. One of his friends' dads passed away, so he's going up there for a funeral. So thoughts and prayers with that particular family and with AG as he travels. But Max has got the Eagles in this game. Should be a lot of fun. Jalen Hurts versus Joe Burrow here. What do you got in this one, Tyler?
Give me the Eagles. They've seemed to find a way to win a lot. Like quietly, they're like 5-2 or something like that.
Yeah,
and just kind of the press. I feel like they would be like a 3-4 type team. Just on the way. Like I feel like a lot of people were talking about them. But when a team can just keep finding a way to win, I like to.
Plus, we got a bunch of Georgia boys on that defense.
They had like 5 sacks this past week combined because Nakobe Dean had 2, Jalen Carter had 2, and Nolan Smith had 1, I believe. Yeah. So it was 7 sacks in Austin Saturday night, and another 5 sacks by them Philly Dogs on Sunday. It was a good weekend to be a dog.
I feel like, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and I think Ohio State's pretty far up there. Michigan, too, as well. But and when it comes to players with a lot of notoriety in the league, those first 3, Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, you've got players for every team. You can root for every team.
Brock Bowers tied in 1 in the NFL right now. Let's go. With a bad quarterback situation, too.
I don't know. Minshew's pretty good, though, man. He makes a lot of players good.
O'Connell's hurt now.
Yeah,
so he'll be playing again.
And they're signing Desmond Ritter to be like their backup quarterback. So, like I said, just an awful.
And then you saw Cleveland sign Zappy, right?
Oh, man.
What did they see out of DTR? And again, I can understand, let's go with the young guy. But what did they see? Whoa,
Stevie Wonder. They don't see anything. That's why they gave Deshaun Watson that guaranteed contract. And think about who you're talking about for a second before you make that statement.
Touche.
Okay,
it is the Browns.
And then there's your answer right there. It should already be implied.
All right, fair enough. But still, my thing is why is Jameis Winston not already being named the starter? He brought
because
more
he'll choke on W's.
$250 million. That's why.
But Deshaun Watson's out now. But then they go. So Deshaun Watson's out, and then so they go to DTR. And I get it, youth that makes sense. But he struggles a little bit. 2 interceptions, I believe, on his behalf. Let's go with Jameis Winston.
Should have kept Joe Flacco.
Give the people what they want to see.
Well, Brad, Ohio Brad texted in or called in the other day, and he was like, "No, they're not going to keep Flacco because Flacco didn't want to be there." But basically, the way that the Browns are keeping people is by just throwing around money like it don't mean nothing. Bears at the Commanders. Let's finish these up. I know that we've got a caller on the line, but caller, just hang on. We're going to finish up this pick'em here. Bears at the Commanders. This game loses a little bit of luster. Bears are a 1-point favorite on the road. No Jaden Daniels, though. And speak of the devil, Ohio Brad will be on the line with us. We'll get him on after this pick'em, though. Bears at the Commanders.
If Jaden Daniels isn't playing, give me the Bears.
All right. Cowboys, and that rib injury, for him to leave the game first quarter, and then they still trounced the Carolina Panthers 40-7. It is the Panthers, but it's still the NFL.
It's still the NFL.
Cowboys at the 49ers here. Max had the Bears in the previous game. You had the Bears as well. Sunday Night Football, you can listen to this game right here on ESPN Northwest Florida coverage starting at 6:30 for a 7:15 kick. Cowboys, 49ers. Max has got the Niners.
It's the Cowboys. How could you bet on them right now? They just look out of sorts. And, I'm good.
Giants at the Steelers, our final pick of the pick'em here. This game also on ESPN Northwest Florida for a little dose of Monday Night Football. Giants, Steelers. Max has got the Steelers. This is a game that I think Monday Night Football should have also flexed
Why are the Giants back in primetime? They were just in primetime 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Did we see a note from that against the Eagles?
What did we think they were going to be? That they deserved almost back-to-back prime?
Right. Hold on. That's such a good point.
It's the market. It's New York, and then it's Pittsburgh that has a big fan base.
But it's
that's it. It's got to be.
I guess, but nobody thought the Giants were going to be worthwhile.
I guess a reason could be a reason, even if it's a bad reason.
I guess so.
Right?
They just put certain markets on a bunch, though. You know what I mean? That's why certain teams don't ever get enough love.
But when it's Eagles, Giants,
I think the nation would rather watch a good game.
Yeah.
like
Bengals Eagles is a better option.
Like Rams Vikings was probably a more like attractive matchup than Giants Steelers.
Eagles Bengals is one of the best games of the
that would have been a much bigger draw. I mean, sure, maybe it hasn't panned out so far this year, but like that would have been a much bigger draw than Giants Steelers. I mean, but give me the Steelers. I'm not betting on the Giants either.
Yeah, there we go. Ohio Brad, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. What's going on, my man?
Oh man, not much. I had to call in because I heard you guys like asking some questions about what's going on with the quarterback situation.
Well, yeah, just more or less. I don't know how you have not named. Well, we talked about them picking up Bailey Zappi, and then we heard, or my question. Can you turn your radio down in the background for me?
Yeah, sorry, man.
You're good. You're good. I just was hearing the echo, and I'm like, okay, I can't really think too much. But yeah, we talked about Bailey Zappi being picked up. Then we talked about why are they not just going ahead and naming Jameis Winston the starter over DTR. I get wanting to see like your young guy, but Jameis Winston looked like he brought a little juice to the table for the Browns.
Well, man, you remember when I called into the inside drive the other day and freaked out?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to go back to that because that kind of answers the question. So,
floor is yours.
You know, there's like a lot of frustration among the fans because like everything's set in place. You know, you got the 2-time coach of the year that honestly you've seen win games with like a lot of different people. You know, like if you go back to last season, you know, like it wasn't just Joe Flacco. Tyler Huntley won a game. DTR won a couple games.
Yep.
You know, like the team has been good enough over the past few years. I mean, let's be honest. It's statistically proven that the Browns have been the most trash team with Deshaun Watson at the helm. You know, like not even just like this year, but like last year they weren't even good when he was healthy. So like you got 2 years in a row where he's not even healthy. He's sucking. And then you got an owner in Jimmy Haslam who, frankly, is just too proud to make a change. So you got poor Kevin Stefanski up there regurgitating, you know, the lines that Deshaun gives us the best chance to win when everyone knows it's false. And so, you know, Deshaun goes down, and honestly, you get a sigh of relief from the fan base that the hand is forced. You know, and ashamed that it didn't happen 3 weeks ago. I mean, football, like NFL football up in Cleveland, Ohio, is like Alabama football in the South. It's people wait the whole year for it. It's
maybe like Auburn football.
You know, it's so important. You know, the Hall of Fame is in this area. Like, and you know, you got fans that just feel completely betrayed. You know, most people didn't even want Deshaun Watson on the team. I'd say it was 75-25. Like, you know, you got your, like, fantasy sports people that are real nerds, but regular people, like grandmas and grandpas and, you know, just regular folks, they don't like Deshaun Watson. You know, in Cleveland, you earn everything, and he stole.
Well.
And so, you know.
That's so tough to say he stole when it was given to him. How about Jimmy Haslam stole the trust of the people of Cleveland?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, he plays better. It's a different story at the end of the day. It was set up for him. It couldn't have been set up any better.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but I've also been saying that since the day that they signed him. I was saying it 2 years before he even got signed. Is the whole thing is you look at his record.
You, that's why people booed.
Yeah.
You know, you got this guy that's getting guaranteed money. There's not a whole lot of sympathy. So it was probably like 50% like we don't like Deshaun, but it was also 50% like this move should have been made. You know, shame on management for not benching Deshaun, you know, 3 weeks ago. He would have never got hurt. The Browns fans, who frankly don't deserve any of this, got dragged through the mud over it. So, you know, when you're making the franchise look bad, but then also the fans are starting to look bad because of what's going on, you know, this is Mayday.
Yeah. So, let me ask you this question: DTR or Jameis Winston gives the Cleveland Browns. If you were making the decision, if the Browns fans got to put a poll out, and whatever the poll decision was decided, then that's who Stefanski was going to go with. Who gives the Browns a better opportunity to win, DTR or Jameis Winston?
Well, I think what's going on is, obviously DTR was drafted,
right?
So they're trying to see what they got, with a young player, and
he's exciting at times.
We're about to be in cap hell, so they're like praying that a cheap rookie ends up working out, like a Brock Purdy or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the experiment's going to last very long. He's kind of dinged up. Nobody really knows how much pull Stefanski has. So, there's a lot of string pullers in Cleveland. They're very analytics based. There's a guy named Paul DePodesta that's, famous from the Moneyball, with the Oakland Athletics.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's kind of like this inner circle that is making decisions that aren't really football people in Cleveland. So no one really even knows what's going on. So
it's like football purgatory almost.
Yeah, basically. And, the problem with going so analytics-based, not to go off on a tangent on analytics, but you become predictable.
Yes.
If you're always doing what the analytics say to do, then your opponent, if they know that's your tendency, they can just predict that.
Well, and you also take your eyes off the prize. You lose feel to an extent because, like you said, you almost just get into this straight routine rather than knowing that this is a game and the ball doesn't bounce the same way every single time, no matter what the probability of that ball bouncing a certain way is.
Yeah, the analytics doesn't account for emotion and momentum and things that are very prominent in football. It's not it's not robots playing.
And that's a big frustration in Cleveland is people don't know, who's making these decisions? Is it Andrew Berry, the GM? Is it Paul DePodesta, the analytics, guru that's in the building? Is it Jimmy Haslam and D getting super involved? Basically, this is something that a respectable franchise never would have even went down the path of.
There's a reason why bad teams typically tend to stay bad in the NFL.
Yeah, so
but I'm a Titans fan, so I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah, and I will say, speaking of the Titans, just to switch gears a little bit, one of the biggest untalked about losses that the Browns had this year was Bill Callahan of the O-line coaching. You guys got his son as your head coach, so he came on over to coach your O-line, and frankly, it's been devastating. That's
I wish it worked out better for us.
Yeah, the Browns' O-line has been garbage. I mean, they got players, but losing Bill Callahan has been borderline disastrous.
It's so wild how unless we're, and we're not in the locker room, but it's so wild how one minor coaching change. I think the Eagles have been suffering with this for the last 2 years. You lose an OC, you lose a DC.
Hey, we suffered after we lost Frank Reich after we won the Super Bowl too.
Right. It's just those little things. Just what a coach means to those players. Sometimes I think gets lost on us as fans.
With, what's his name? Shane Steichen. He can't do nothing now.
Yep, that is true. Hey, Ohio Brad, we're about 10 minutes past our break time. Thanks so much for the call, man. Always a great talk. Man.
Hey, great listening.
Hey, thank you, man. That's Ohio Brad, and he is a Brown super fan, and just
that takes a lot of dedication too.
Well, it does, but I really just appreciate when people call in and they have their gripes, but their gripes are it's fair, this is what sports are about, man. We invest not just financially but emotionally, and just they mean a lot to us. Does it ruin our days? Sometimes, for a little bit. We most of the time we know better than that, but it's like, golly, come on, teams, y'all are making a lot of money off of us. Just do right by us. Pretend that you want to win. Pretend that you want to win. I mean, as a Tennessee Titans fan, all the time I'm just like, what are we doing? I get that you can't hit on every single quarterback or every single player, and sometimes the defense is going to be better than the offense, and sometimes it's going to be vice versa, and we're never going to be perfect, but maybe once out of every 5 years, care care a little bit. And with that, we're going to care to take a break. You're right on with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Quick timeout. We're going to be right back with some more Tyler's takes from college football.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the radio home of the Mosley Dolphins.
Thursday night, we're going under the lights.
And Jamarcus Halstead into the end zone for another Dolphins touchdown.
Your undefeated Bay County champions, the Mosley Dolphins, are on the road to face the 2-6 Gulf Breeze Dolphins. It's Dolphins versus Dolphins. Kickoff Thursday night at 7 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Tuesday. Clear tonight with a light breeze at 6 miles per hour out of the northeast and temps near 66.